Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by SBK. And we are back after a brief hiatus. Hopefully you didn't miss us too much, but back with the regular team then of Andrew Mount, Daryl Carter and myself. We have all of the team back reunited again. And don't worry, we're going to make up for last week because we have an awful lot of racing to get through. We're going to 4 different meetings that we have scheduled, as well as any other meetings that the lads wish to take us to. Now we're going to do the chronological order again because that seemed to get a really good response in the comments. So thanks so much for all your feedback. We always like to hear all feedback, positive and negative, that we can then constructively use going forward. So appreciate that. We're going to go down the chronological order again this week. So we had better get cracking. And we're going to start with the 145 at Goodwood. This is a handicap for 3-year-olds over 7 furlongs. An easy opener this, I'm sure, Andrew. So could you please kick us off with this very open contest?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Hopefully the ground remains on the good or faster, and we can perhaps use the draw to narrow down the field. 7 furlongs at Goodwood, low draws generally favoured, particularly on quick ground. If you look at the 6 renewals of this race in the last 10 years on good to soft or quicker going, we've had the winners drawn in stalls 3, 3, 2, 2, 2 and 4. So, maybe that could be used to our advantage. Looking at those in draw order, Find in stall 1. For the Gosdens, I'm not convinced by him. He's only won a novice when 100 to 30 on during his career. He seems to always find 1 or 2 too good. War in Heaven, I thought was flattered by that second at Ascot last time, coming from off the pace, as did the winner. Alotaibi, stall 3, I thought was well drawn when second over course of distance last time. But if you watch that race, did have to switch wide for a run, had to wait for that run. So I thought he'd go well. His record at this 7 furlong trip, first, second and second. But at the prices, I was looking at my Dubawi, perhaps drawn a little higher than ideal in stall 6, though typical Johnson runner, he's likely to be up with the pace. And the yard does well in this race. And his record over 7 furlongs, first, second and first, with the defeat by half a length by Tiber Flow. He was well held by El Cabello at Newcastle last time. That one was favourite for the Sandy Lane later on Saturday. But that was in Newcastle, 6 furlongs, wrong trip, and also wrong track. He's got a terrible record on straight tracks. Absolutely shocking. Never runs a race, my Dubawi. So, back on a round course, back over 7 furlongs, reasonable draw in stall 6. I thought my Dubawi could outrun his odds here.
Yeah, nice in a wide open race as well, around 12 to 1 from what I'm currently looking at then for my Dubawi to outrun his price for the Charlie and Mark Johnston team. Daryl, over to you, please, for your assessment of this race.
Yeah, good assessment there by Andrew. I like Alotaibi at the top of the market. I thought this horse, if you watched the race back at Goodwood last time, he absolutely smashed up at the start of the race. Just got shuffled right to the rear of the pack, and then they went really steady up front. Which didn't suit him. 1 minute he was in on the rail, the next minute he's had to switch widest of all, about 5 off the rail to make his challenge, and he's got there all just too late. He's actually bumped into a very well handicapped horse in Notions, who's got some really strong back form, and I expect that horse to continue to improve. I would write off the run prior to that at York, and then at Ascot he bumped into One East, who won the Isha Cup at Sandown, and that horse is much better than his mark. He's definitely a 100 horse, that One East. So I think Alotaibi's got a bit more to come here, and he's drawn well. He's proven he handles the track as he did last time, and I don't think there's too many negatives with him. There's just one other that I have had a small stable on because I think she's the wrong price, and that's River Pride for Richard Hannon. She stayed on really strongly behind Harry 3 at Newmarket 7 days ago. Turned her out quite quickly here, but she's very, very unexposed when getting a good pace to aim at and quick ground. She split Wild Beauty and another smart, useful horse at Newbury last year in June. Carwida actually came and nabbed her on the line, and then went out and chased down Roman Dragon at Chester when the ground was too soft for her. She's got more to come. She's improving. If she gets on, I know she's drawn 8, but if she can get herself on the front end, she won't be stopping towards the finish. So I've had a small each way bet on her. She's a double figure price with certain bookmakers. Around 11 to 1, 4 places. She will definitely be in the frame, I think. So, a couple of those two, I think you should go close.
Yeah, I like that with River Pride. I sided with her then on Saturday, and she didn't let me down at an each way price there, finishing second. So very likeable. My heart's with her, but a really good case made then for Alotaibi as well, then who Andrew did also give a positive mention for. But the main selection is going to be him then for Daryl. Now we switch over to Haydock, where we have the 2 o'clock. This is a 0 to 100 handicap for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles. Another big field handicap here, Daryl. So who takes your fancy?
Yeah, 2 again for me in this race. I know it's cheating a little bit this week, but Valley Forge would be the main bet. I thought he ran a very encouraging race on seasonal return at Newmarket, chasing home Semhan. That form through Semhan has worked out quite well everywhere you look, really, including his Salisbury runs. It looks pretty useful form over a mile 6 plus. And Valley Forge has shaped like he needed the run, probably needed a bit more of a stronger pace to aim at. Wasn't entirely happy in the dip, but I thought he would improve for it. I'm not entirely sure how he's still on a mark of 89 because he won a really, really strong handicap last year, York, the Melrose at York. And he had a good bit in hand when he won that off a mark of 83. Now, he's only £6 higher here, but this is nowhere near as strong as that Melrose was. And I'm hoping that he's going to improve a good bit from the Newmarket run. I think he won second time out last year. He's a steady improver. I'm just hoping they go a good enough clip for him because he stays very, very strongly and slightly up and trip up to 2 miles. Should suit him well. Oh, the other one. I forgot the other one, didn't I? The other one is the John Joe O'Neill horse, Merveillo.
I thought I was being shrewd.
No,
Okay,
yeah. I thought he ran very, very eye-catchingly well at Newbury. He was beating 8 lengths, but it was his first start for the yard. He recorded an RPR of 99. He's a listed winner in France. That was his first start coming over to Britain, first start for a Gelman operation, first start for 219 days off the track. Now, the slight concern with him, I'm glad they put Tom Marquand on because Tom Marquand's going to have to really get after him. But just the way he's shaped coming around the bend into the home straight in Newbury, Liam Canary was not hard on him at all. He was just shaped like he had a good bit in hand. He's going to be a nice jumper for the yard, he is. Yeah. And there's no surprise that a listed winner from France is sticking him on the flat for a couple of runs to see if they can get make use of his handicap mark of 94. He was 50 to 1 in the place. That's far too big. 33s is pretty generous, I think. He wore the tongue tie and the blinkers over in France. That's been left off last time. That's also been left off this time again. But on that Newbury run last time, I'm not entirely convinced that he absolutely needs them. So I'm hoping that the market will see the fact that he's not got tongue tie and blinks on as a bit of a negative and stick him at the top of stick him at the top of the market. But really, I'm not entirely sure that he does need it. He just needs a very, very strong pace to aim at. He'll probably get that in here with a lot of the Johnson horses, with a lot of front runners in here, or a few front runners, I felt. So, 33s, I think you can't go wrong, really. A couple of quid each way on him.
He totally stole my thunder with him. Yeah, he was. Again, when he said about having 2 in here, I've got 2 in here as well. Bandinelli and then him as well. When I was going through it, and he just caught my eye, and I saw the price of him, and I thought, well, that's too big for me to ignore as well because of all the reasons you've just said. Then with him with Merveillo as well, because I say with just that sole start then for this yard, I thought it was so encouraging, and the fact he's been dropped £2 for that just gives me
that's weird, wasn't it?
Side with him. Yeah, it was. So yeah, he is one for me at the each way, but also Bandinelli then for the ever in form Charlie Appleby yard. I don't think that the £3 rise for his career best on that reappearance will find him out. And he's going back to a track he's previously won at, so hopefully he can continue his progression back on the turf. So 2 for me, 2 for Daryl. Andrew, are you just playing this race with a straight bat or 2 again?
I'm going to have 2 if you're having 2.
Oh, of course, you may.
The toddler in me says it's not fair. I want to. Golden Flame was my main play for Mark and Charlie Johnson. Now the yards had 5 runners in this race, 2 winners and a third. And he was well beaten at Newmarket on his comeback. I don't think that track suited. And you look at his record here at Haydock. He's had 2 goes in his career, second by half a length on his debut over 7 furlongs, and a mile 6 handicap win last September. And since he's been stepped up beyond 10 furlongs, he's had 5 runs on left-handed tracks, a second at Wolverhampton, and then 3 wins. He was well beaten on the other start. That was in the Melrose, though, when he was 66 to 1 for that race. And given the stable's record, he often leads. He doesn't have to, though. And seen Haydock often favours early pace. I've not looked at the pace map to see how much other pace there is in the race at the moment. But just that return to a left-handed track angle for me was good enough for Golden Flame at 10-1. And like Daryl, Valley Forge clearly needed that comeback run at Newmarket when he shaped well and caught the eye from off the pace. I thought he'd run a good race as well.
Yeah, okay, so 2 then again, and 2 at fair prices as well. Valley Forge, both lads in agreement then about him, but Andrew's main play then for Golden Flame at a nice price as well. So yeah, pretty open. We've covered half the field, but take your pick and we'll go from there. Right, we're back to Goodwood next, where we're looking at the listed festival stakes at 2:15, which is for 4-year-olds and over a mile 2. And this is, funnily enough, yet another competitive contest. So Andrew, back to you, please, for this race.
Yeah, this is a tricky old one. This we are at the 2:15 at Goodwood, aren't we? Okay,
yeah.
A little bit confused. Brentford Hope. It's all Brentford hype, so it's a Brentford note for me. Not a fan of the horse. Quite happy to take him on at single figure odds. Majestic Dawn, the ground's going to be too quick unless they have a thunderstorm or 3. He's one that I'm very interested in when the ground's on the soft side, but we'll probably have to wait until the autumn or certainly later in the summer. The one that I was coming down, I say Father of Jazz, 0 from 5 on turf, Ad Infinitum, another one you probably need softer going. Stormy Antarctic won it last year, but that was on soft ground and it wasn't very competitive. And I thought it's going to be too quick for him if the forecast is correct. Moving Time was one I'm interested in. I put him up last time at Newmarket. He missed the break and then he was rushed up on the outside on the slowest part of the track, about 3 furlongs out, and sort of used up all his energy in sort of one burst, it seemed. Had nothing left at the finish. I mean, Harry Davis is a very promising £7 apprentice, but that was probably a mistake. And I thought he'd run a much better race. And Victory Chime, who won a similar contest over course and distance last September. First time out, but this one has won twice from his last 4 seasonal debuts. And after a very slow start, the Rafe Beckett yard is showing more positive signs at the moment. They're just about getting going. So I'll go Victory Chime over Moving Time. So it's a Chime time double.
I was going to say, can we have a rule from now on where we can, if we have 2 selections in a race, we can only have it if they rhyme, because that's quite cute. That's quite cute, Andrew. You're a poet and you didn't even know it there. Moving Time, Victory Chime for the pair of us. Right, Daryl, anything that rhymes in here for you after Andrew's dismissed most of the field?
No, last year's winner for me, Stormy Antarctic. I think this is a good opportunity for him to get back on the board. He's run over a mile for the last 4 times. He's not been disgraced. I was very disappointed with him actually on his final start last season at Kempton. I thought that was disappointing, but he's 0 for 3 on the all-weather, so I'm just happy to put a line through that. Prior to that at Newmarket, thought he did well chasing on Sarkowski over a mile. He just shapes like he wants a mile, 10 furlongs. He's not quite quick enough, I don't think, for a mile. So back up in trip, back at Goodwood where he's ran 3 good races. I mean, he was beaten in the Celebration Mile, wasn't he? A couple of years ago, or last year and a couple of years ago. But he wasn't disgraced. He was beaten 6 lengths. He just couldn't quicken with the likes of Ben Battle and Lavenders Blue. This is not that type of race for me. This is far weaker than many of the contests he's been running in of late. I'm not entirely convinced that he's a horse that needs soft ground. I think he's okay on good soft ground. I don't think he needs it soft. And he's got one of the best pieces of form in the race, or best recent piece of form in the race, and that was his wins a second to Solid Stone last year, where he beat Brentford Hope. Solid Stone's obviously just eking out improvement every single start he has, but Solid Stone went down the rail that day, and he came over and went down the centre of the track. I thought it was well worth upgrading his effort. Back here at Goodwood, I think he can go well fresh. I think he ticks a lot of boxes.
Stormy Antarctic then for Daryl, not put off by the ground conditions, with the best form in the race back over this course and distance again for him. So very good summary of that race. Right, we go back to Haydock now with the 2:35. This is a handicap for 3-year-olds over a mile, where Mighty Ulysses is a strong favourite and is an each way price about the remainder here. So Daryl, do you side with the favourite or do you look for one at a bigger price?
Well, there are. I mean, I really like this horse. I was really annoyed at Epsom because I loved what he did on debut, and then I tipped him at Epsom and travelled all over the field. Even though he was really keen, he jumped the path. He travelled all over the field, and look, I don't know if the horse had anything left or not, but Frankie was a length down, inside the final 50 yards. Well, not even a length down, half a length down, and he was riding out hands and heels, and he's been beaten 2 lengths. It was just really frustrating. They then stuck the hood on him for his run at Newmarket, and he bolted up really. They negotiated his penalty that day with the same jockey that's riding today. They've taken the hood off today, so there is a concern if you are backing him at a very short price whether or not he's going to be keen again or not. So I would just be very wary of that. But he should definitely be the best horse in this race. This is not going to be a handicapper. This is a horse that, they're going to be contesting group company throughout the rest of the season, I would have thought. So it's no surprise to see him as short as 5-4. There's a couple of nice horses in here. Spirit Catcher for Charlie Mark Johnston. This horse ran a really nice race behind King of Time. And I think King of Time is going to win the Britannia at Royal Ascot. So I'm taking a positive view of that form. And he didn't really handle the dip there either. So he's entitled to improve again. He's a progressive horse. And the other one is Who Put 50 in You for Clive Cox, who stepped up and trip again. But he's a very, very progressive horse. He could have any amount to come. But the only selection, not the main selection, the only selection is going to be Mighty Ulysses, because I just think he's a group horse in the handicap.
Yeah, Mighty Ulysses then to cement himself at the head of a market, and for Daryl's pick as well. Andrew, your selection in this race, please.
Yeah, there's a couple I was looking at. One of them's ground dependent, though, Herbert's Reign, who's got a good record at a mile, 2 wins and no second, and an 18-1 fourth behind Winnie's at Sandown on his reappearance this term. But it does look as though sort of good to soft or softer is what he needs. So I'd just keep an eye on the weather for that. I mean, they're calling it good, I think, at the moment, aren't they? Haydock, yeah. It's purple toe right, so it could be firm or heavy. Who knows?
Yeah.
Spirit Catcher, I was half interested in for the Mark Johnson yards. He's got a good record in this race, and Spirit Catcher didn't make the running when winning at Musselburgh on his return, so that's handy as well, because they can go a bit too quick sometimes in this race. The one I'm going to come down on the side of, though, is Outgate for the Kubala yard. Been impressed with this one since going handicapping. What is it? Sort of 4 wins and 2 seconds. Sorry, 2 wins, 2 seconds. The 2 wins have both come when going left-handed. One here at Haydock over 7, the other over sort of an extended 7 at Chester. The 2 defeats at Newmarket when he had excuses both times. He's tried to come from off the pace on the rolling mile, never always easy to do. The first time the winner's made all, he's found only that one too good. The next time he's run a cracker on his comeback, finishing second of 15. Did best of those drawn low. You look at the first 4 home that day, stalls 12, 4, 16 and 10. So he was a little bit exposed in the centre when the action was all stand side. So stepping up in trip. That's often a positive angle with the Kubala yard, who sort of moneyball racing, don't they? Do all this sort of gene analysis and stride pattern analysis to find the best trip for their horses. And anytime they step up to a new trip for the first time, you want to be interested in them. So yeah, Outgate, the main one for me.
So you've both gone and said 2. Well, again, I've cheated. I've gone with 2 selections again then in this race, and you've both given them a positive mention of different ones, which I'm really pleased about. Outgate for the Kublers, as you've just said, Andrew, and Who Put 50 in You, the brilliantly named Who Put 50 in You, then, as Daryl gave him a good mention for earlier on. And I really was between the pair of those 2 then for this race. I think that Outgate, he has a good draw here in 6, hopefully. He sort of has different running styles, which I find fascinating. I wonder if the Kublers sort of change up his running style for whichever contest it should suit best, or for whichever track. We know that, as you've just been saying, Andrew, they're very they like to follow their stats for each race and for each horse as well. So I'm going to hope that that he's ridden with a little bit of restraint here, because I think there should be a good enough pace on in this. Clearly he came forwards for that reappearance start to win last time out at Chester. He was given a really good ride there, as was everything Ryan Moore rode at Chester. So I still think he's up to define this £5 rise and back to a mile as well. And also Proof at 50 and You, a very similar price between the pair of them here. Hopefully he can uphold that unbeaten record here. Handicap Davy last time out. Think he'll get this trip, and he can defy the step up in trip and the £5 rise. So the 2 then for me as well in that race. Right, we have another meeting joining us now at York, where we have our opening contest from York, which is a 0 to 105 handicap for 3-year-olds and over 5 furlongs at 255. And these races are just getting easier and easier for you, Andrew. So who do you side with in this competitive handicap?
Yeah, cracking one. This Jawal is in my tracker as a horse to back sort of this time of year. He's won 6 times in May, June, and July. He was an eye catcher here on his comeback. However, he's a hold-up horse, drawn stall 1. All the pace looks to be high, and he has had 8 runs here at York and lost them all, despite the fact that he's placed here previously. So reluctantly, I'm overlooking Jawal. Knights on Earth was half interesting. Copper Knight, who we know goes well at this time of year and likes this track. Atalis Bay is another pace angle I thought might like this track. But I'm going to go for Zargun. He was 20-1 here last time out. He finished 6th. It's the first time in his career he's finished unplaced at York. I think the reason for that was there was a much shorter price stablemate who was allowed to make all the running, and Zargun, normally ridden prominently, was decided to undergo a patient ride that day. So I think you can put a line through that. His other 3 runs at York placed effort at 125-1, 14-1, 11-1. This looks to have been the plan. I'm just a little concerned that Atalis Bay, another prominent racer, is drawn sort of very near to him, but hopefully he won't get into an early pace war with that. Although you go back to the Dante meeting and look what happened there. That, you know, the pace held up even when there looked to be sort of 3 or 4 front runners in some of those races. Yeah. So Zargun shouldn't be too far away. That stall 14 draw shouldn't be a problem because all the pace is high.
Oh, perfect then. Yeah, so Zargun at a very fair each way price if you want to decide within that, or straight down the line. He's a very fair price. All the same then. Zargun, horse number 8 for Andrew. Daryl, very open race here. Who takes your fantasy?
Oh, yeah, I know. But the issue I've got, right, is that so I put Illusionist up last year to 3 starts ago back, so it was last October to win, and he flew home, right. Never really, you don't see a performance like it very often. He absolutely flew home and beat Zargun by a neck. Like, if you haven't seen it, honestly, go back and watch it. It's ridiculous. And it was here at York, and he's ran some really nice races here at York previously. The issue I've got is that he's returning to the track today after a short break or seasonal reappearance. The blinkers are not on, and his regular rider's not on. But he's drawn next to the pace angles, and I'm just hoping today's not the day for him, because I'm not going to back him, and I know I'm going to regret. Yeah, I know. The problem is because I like 2 others in it. Alligator Alley. I don't know if I'm going to back Alligator Alley or not, because I think I'm doing it out of sentimental value. I really thought this horse was an absolute certainty at the York meeting a couple of weeks ago, last week, when he was beaten by Fine Wine, but he just shapes like he wants 5.5. He wants a Portland trip, really, rather than 6. He doesn't really want 5. He didn't really have too many excuses, I didn't think. And he's sitting there on top of the mark.
I agree with you there, Daryl. I was watching that. I watched it back twice this morning and thought he just didn't go the pace, did he?
No, he didn't. And that's what's frustrating me, because he just didn't go the pace, and there was no real excuses for him. So backing him that's why I'm very reluctant to back him again. But I don't know, I've got the fear of missing out, if he goes to win. So I'm going to back Atalis Bay. I think this horse has had some real tough tasks last season, carrying big weights, basically a very, very productive 2-year-old season, almost writ off his 3-year-old season. But his best performances have come at York, or his best performance come at York when chasing over Winter Power this time last year. He literally pulled miles clear of everything else in the field and was beaten 3 lengths by Winter Power. Now, the thing with Winter Power is, we'll talk about that also in a minute, but Winter Power, every top figure performance from Winter Power has come at York. So it's rock solid form. And I just think that Atalis Bay could just be one of those horses that needs to get on the front and roll at York, and then just keep going. Yeah. So off a mark of 102, drawn high. He's actually drawn next to, I don't think he's drawn next to too much pace, other than maybe Zargun. And I think he's just going to keep rolling. So I'm going to back Atalis Bay.
Oh yeah, Atalis Bay there for him. This is his 2nd start, isn't it, for Middle from Morley and Robert Cowell as well? So
yeah, I didn't think he was totally disgraced at Newmarket. I just thought he just sort of went fast and hard early, and just folded, looking like he needed to run. So I'm hoping he's going to come on for that.
Yeah, he's just a wonderful horse, isn't he? I really have a soft spot for him, and like I say, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and there could well be more to come from him, because we know that Tom Morley wouldn't have purchased him then if he hadn't thought that there was more to come. So interesting takes then on that race at York in the 255. So now we switch back to Haydock and we head. Well, we're on to the group action now, anyway, which might make things easier in theory anyway. So our remaining 4 races are all group races, where we start with the 310 at Haydock. This is the Group 2 Sandy Lanes for 3-year-olds over 6 furlongs. Plenty of likeable 3-year-olds in this race, where El Caballo and Go Bears Go are vying for favouritism. So Daryl, how do you play this race, please?
I spent ages on this. It's hard work. This is. I thought I was in the camp of Go Bears Go. I think he should be clear favourite in my opinion. I know El Caballo is a very progressive horse, and his form has just worked out with Timber Flow. But I'm sure Timber Flow's a 7 furlong horse, and not a 6 furlong horse. I know he's just 1 over 6 furlongs, but I'm just sure of it. So I think that El Caballo may well also be a 7 furlong horse. Go Bears Go is an out-and-out sprinter, that's for damn sure. He's run it down Marvin, just touched off on Twilight Good Evening. I thought it was a very eye-catching run. He stuck to the task very strongly at the finish. He's a real hardy horse. He's going to be very hard. You don't want to get into a battle with this horse, I would have thought. I think it's going to come down between the two. I mean, you can make cases for a lot of the others at bigger prices, but I just think their form is so far superior. Or at least Go Bears Go is form's far superior that he should take a lot of beating.
Okay, so Go Bears Go. So went around the merry-go-round in between the top 2, and then eventually sided with Go Bears Go here, who actually is probably a fair enough price then, considering they were vying favouritism earlier on. So Go Bears Go for Daryl. Andrew, who do you like?
Yeah, cracking race this one. I mean, El Caballo has been gambled on all week after being tipped up by Hugh Taylor. Form of that Newcastle form with Type of Flow has been well franked. He's now 5 from 5 since his debut, but sort of 2 to 1, 9 to 4. I'm happy to see him, win on back. I mean, you can argue he's going to improve going back on turf, because Havana Gold's progeny have got a superior strike rate on turf as opposed to the all-weather. Daryl makes a good case for Go Bears Go, who impressed me at Ascot, but I'm going to take them on with one each way. Wings of War, who was last of 4 in that Go Bears Go race at Ascot. A race that has often been a good guide to the Sandy Lane. And he was very keen that day. And you look at his form, he just seems best given a big field and a strong pace. He needs them to go like the absolute clappers. He's the kind of horse I can see running well here and running well in the Commonwealth Cup, because Ascot, the huge field, or hopefully huge field at Ascot, will suit him. So he's in cheek pieces for the first time. He's drawn near Go Bears Go, which is going to help, because you'll get cover from that one. El Caballo's not going to be far away either. They're all drawn high. So I think Wings of War each way. I think you can get 4 places with some firms, around about 9 or 10 to 1. I think that's a good each way bet.
Yeah, Wings of War, then nice each way price as well for Andrew then in the 310 at Haydock. Right, our sole race from the Curragh is a very good one and comes up next, where we have the Group 1 Irish 2,000 guineas at 320, which is for the 3-year-olds, of course, over a mile, where we have the 2,000 guineas second Native Trail heading the betting as the 1 to 3 favourite. So Andrew, I mean, surely he just proves hard to beat here, doesn't he?
Native Trail wins. Next question.
Okay, perfect. Right, well that was handy enough.
Yeah, well, he was drawn out a bit, wasn't he, at Newmarket?
Yeah.
Swap the draw with the winner, he'd probably have won. And this doesn't look particularly strong to me. I couldn't find an each way alternative that I was interested in. I was thought Native Trail would win.
Yeah, perfect. Nope, that is completely fair. Then, like you say, was drawn. Well, we thought from the Craven meeting was going to be a positive draw out on the Sandside Rail. Turned out to be, you wanted to be low drawn on that occasion. But anyway, Daryl, are you in agreement there about Native Trail?
Yeah, I think coming away from Newmarket, it's going to be a massive positive to him. He's such a big horse. I mean, he can't be enjoying that dip, can he? So I think anything he's done there is got to be upgraded, really. I mean, he proved that when he went to the Curragh last year and clocked a 1.22 RPR. I think he's very good. I don't think the Irish are that strong at all this year, really. I think Native Trail's form line is the key to the Derby, as well as anything else going forward. So, yeah, I think he'll take a world beating.
Wonderful. I'm in total agreement with the pair of you. Native Trail for the win. But if I was going to have a flyer at 1 to run into the places, Imperial Fighter, I would not be dismissing at 33 to 1 in here. If you literally just rule out his last starts, because prior to that, then his form of last season for me stacks up in the context of sort of how weak this race is. Not weak, it's a Group 1, but behind Native Trail, relatively speaking, that the opening is there for a horse of his nature, because he's second behind Curragh in the Group 3 Autumn Stakes last season was solid. He ran a solid race behind Luxembourg in the Group 1 Vertem Futurity as well. He'll probably come forwards for his reappearance, start being of an Andrew Balding horse. And for me, he just looked overpriced. If you wanted an each-way flyer at something else other than Native Trail in this race, Imperial Fighter, I wouldn't put you off at a decent price there in behind.
Okay, I can see one firm already betting without, and they're 7-1 Imperial Fighter without the favourite.
Oh, I'd take that. I would take that anyway.
And
yeah.
You can back that each way as well.
I was going to say
1, 2, 3.
Each way without 7-1. Happy days. Yeah, so that's not too bad at all a bet then for me, Imperial Fighter then. So yeah, there you go. There's a different alternative way to play it, hopefully. Anyway, watch him finish out the back of the screen. Right, the 3:30 then at York. We're back to York now, where we have the Group 3 Bronze Cup Filly Stakes for 4-year-olds and over a mile, 5.5 furlongs at 3:30. 7 of these fillies and mares declared for this, Daryl. So who wins it for you?
Oh, I hate this division, Kate. I think it's terrible. There's a horse in there called Glenarty. This horse will give you nothing but nightmares. I've followed this horse all last season, stayed on strongly all the time, looking like it's going to win. And then once it's even put close to the pace, we'll just not finish out the race. It's such a pain in the ass. I thought Eileen Dover would have a fair chance at around 7-1. I liked the form last time from Nottingham, beating 5 lengths by Trushan. Didn't think disgrace there. There's a couple of other bits and pieces of form against the boys as well that just makes a look a fair price at around 7-1, but not a race I'm getting involved with, Kate.
Okay, I would never stop laughing if Glenart goes and wins this now and stays really strongly in the finish. But yeah, I know if you had to have a selection, but not a strong choice then for Daryl by any means. Andrew, any stronger verdict?
No, this race made me angry. What a pile of pants! Why are we discussing this race when we've got all these other great ones to talk about? So, yeah, I mean, I don't believe in love. I do believe in life after love. I thought I'd share that with you. Yeah, I thought that the race might come a little bit too soon for Believe in Love. An Urban Artist was second in this last year on her reappearance, but that was on soft ground, and I thought she'd prefer more cut. She was the one I would go for if it was sort of good to soft or softer, but that looks very unlikely. I mean, Mighty Blue was only 4th in this last year when the 11-8 favourite. Silence Please hasn't won for 2 years, although this is only the second run for Andrew Balding. But I just think she's a tricky customer, and she was well backed on that first run for the new yard. So, perhaps she was fit and ready to go and just disappointed. Glenartney is 0 from 5 since her novice win. I'm very much with Daryl on her ability. So I sort of fallen asleep by the time I got to Eileen Dover and the 2 outside. So, I thought, to be honest, 7 runners is kind of like a place pop buster, isn't it? If you put Eileen Dover and Sea Sylph in there and hope for the best. But not a race I was particularly interested in punting in like Daryl.
No, so Andrew doesn't believe in love and is angry, and Daryl will definitely be angry if Glenartney goes and wins this. So stay tuned for the 3:30 then at York, because that could bring out all sorts of emotions then from the lads based on the verdict of that race. Right, we will move on then to our final scheduled race. This is the 3:45, the Group 2 Temple Stakes, which is for 3-year-olds and over 5 furlongs, where Winter Power is a strong favourite in this. So, Daryl, final race, who are you siding with?
I think there's a good bet in here. I think Existent is a very good bet at around 16-1. I want to take Winter Power on. Like I say, I think she's a better horse at York. And outside of York, I don't think she's been that special, really. So I kind of want to take her on first start of the year, not at York, at Haydock. And Existent, I thought ran an absolute screamer behind Curragh at Newmarket last time, beating ahead. Completely unexposed, this horse, over sprint trips on turf. And he's reached a very, very high level already. He was that effort at Newmarket last time was £10 better than anything he'd done on turf previously. So I think there's loads more to come from him, especially with a strong pace in there. I think he'll be finished fast. Hopefully he can get in the frame or go a little bit better. 16-1, I think it's a generous price.
Yeah, Existent, very generous price then in our final race, and a very punchy verdict given by Daryl as well then. So that's a good way to sign off the scheduled races. Andrew, do you have an equally punchy verdict?
Yeah, this race also makes me angry, but for different reasons. It made me angry when they moved it from Sandown, because it used to be a license to print money. It always seems to be run on soft ground. This is when the massive, the draw bias at Sandown was in play. You could just back those drawn against the far rail. I once had the trifecta in this race, the tote trifecta, but it paid less than the computer straight forecast. So I picked the first three and paid less than for picking the 1-2. But that was a long time ago. But yeah,
since stemming from now, yeah.
Since they moved it to Haydock, 4-year-olds have done really well. You can just back them all and make a profit of about £6.5. 4-year-olds are in the top 4 in the betting, 6 winners from 16 starts, plus £21.52. So that does bring in the favourite. But like Daryl, I think he's better at York. And so I was looking at Twilight Calls, who was drawn out of it when disappointing in the Palace House at Newmarket last time. Was well punted that day, but yeah, that high draw just completely did for him, like it did for Native Trail. So that 5th place I thought was worthy of a massive upgrade. So Twilight Calls is the main play. Came from the dark, loves Haydock. I thought his comeback run was needed at Newmarket. He hadn't raced. He has run well first time out before, but he hadn't raced since early July this time. So I think he's on my King Stand shortlist. He might need this one a little bit as well. It'll be Ascot next month. We want to be backing him. And Existent was the other one that I liked as well. So I don't know if you saw the interview with sort of Stuart Williams in the Racing Post this week about sort of bringing horses back in trip and. But I thought Existent very interesting. Now they've reinvented him as a 5-furlong horse, and it just really seems to have done the trick. Fascinating that John Gosden was running him up to a mile, I think. So, so Twilight Calls came from the dark and Existent, but Twilight Calls the pick.
Twilight Calls main play. Watch for Came from the Dark for the King's Stand then at Royal Ascot, but also keep an eye on him here. And also a very favourable mention for Existent Daryl selection from Andrew as well. So in agreement there, and hopefully Andrew will have calmed down them from his anger by the time that race has been run. Now, Andrew, I'll throw it back to you, please, for anything from anywhere else.
There's a couple. Haydock on Saturday, Haydock 420. Eldeyaar for Anthony Britton. This one finished 4th at Ripon last time out when there was a massive draw bias. You had to be drawn low and race up against the far side rail. He's done best of those who've come down at the stand side. And the 455 at Haydock, a horse called EARLS. Interesting, this one's come over from Ireland for Gavin Cromwell. And slight suspicion that maybe he can't do it away from Nace, but he was 2nd of 20 there last time out. Did best of those drawn in single figures where you need to be drawn very high. But Eldeyaar, the most interesting one outside of the races we've already discussed.
Oh, very good. Daryl, yourself, please. Anything from anywhere else?
Just the one in the 455 at Haydock. Ascot Adventure would be the way I'd play it. Completely unexposed. Been crying out to go for the 7-furlong trip. Held up for a slowly run race last time, so I think he's got a lot more to come. He's the only one that would interest me at the moment.
Cool. So the lads potentially taking each other on then in the 455. Daryl Ascot Adventure, Andrew then potentially with EARLS, but just wait and see on that one. And then also for Andrew, you lost it again now. Eldeyaar then in the 420 at Haydock. Right, naps. Daryl, your nap, please.
The Naposaurus Rex is existent in the 345 at Haydock, or actually it might be Atalis Bay in 255.
Okay. So
I'll let you decide.
Let me decide.
They'll both win.
Seeing as you went with Existent, seeing as a pair of you went for Existent, then we'll go for Existent if I'm allowed to choose then for your thing for the Naposaurus Rex.
The Naposaurus Rex.
That is too good. We're use that going forwards. Right, Existent then for Daryl sort of. Andrew, Nap, please.
I'll go Eldeyaar in that 420, although I've just looked at the decks for Stratford, and there's another one that's been on the radar for a while, but I won't mention that to my column. So we've had enough to talk about today. But yeah,
lure him in.
I was going to say, I was literally just about to, what a way to tease the listeners or viewers. Then stay tuned to the column for that Stratford potential nap then for Andrew. And I don't know, I think I'm going to go Bandinelli, even though I'm fascinated by the JP horse in that race in the 2 o'clock at Haydock. But I'll stick with Bandinelli and I hope that he can continue his improvement. So they are all of our naps, all of our selections as well. We've got through an awful lot today, but in good time. So thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you to the lads for all of their hard work. Thank you to our sponsors, SBK. Hope you've enjoyed having us back. We'll be back again next week, though, and we look forward to that. So we will speak to you again then.